Okay. Welcome. We will call to order the December 10th, 2025 regular meeting of the Aspen Pitkin County Housing Authority. First item on the agenda is a roll call. Cindy.
Okay. Scott?
Present.
Christine?
Here.
Carson?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
John?
Here.
And Peter?
Here.
Thank you.
Excellent. We will move next to agenda amendments. Any agenda amendments? Okay, hearing none, we will move to public comment. So just as a reminder, we have a 3-minute time limit on public comment. So I'll start here in the room. Is there anybody that would like to come up and make public comment? Please come on up.
Shall I sit?
Sure, have a seat, and if you would just state your name for the record. And like I said, 3-minute time limit. I'll try not to cut you off right at 3 if you're finishing up a sentence, but
I'll try not to take up the whole
just
time.
be mindful of that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
My name is Grant Purcell. I am a resident of Woody Creek. I live in the Woody Creek Metro. I'm here tonight because I believe in APCHA's mission to provide workforce housing that strengthens our community. And I want to stand with you in protecting it. And I've raised concerns about Henry Forbes Henley, who is a lifetime registered sex offender, who has recently been charged with violating his probation 4 counts, one of which is offering Molly and ketamine to a 14-year-old girl who was in his car whenever he wasn't even supposed to be contacting minors. I have contacted APCHA and I've asked them to issue a notice of violation and to have a quick cure period, investigation, violation, cure period. APCHA had a quick determination that claimed no violation existed, and in their letter to me, they referenced the time and money that it would take to prosecute and move forward with removing this person from taxpayer subsidized housing. And I know APCHA has trouble with court cases right now, with McIntyre and things like that. This is not that. And I'm bringing you something that is actually going to strengthen your positions in the future. This is a case that no judge is going to overturn. You bring this to a judge, they're not going to say, I'm siding with the sex offender. They're going to look to the law, and if you have the law on your side, then they're going to move forward, and you're not going to have somebody overturn that, and that's going to strengthen you for the future. The Woody Creek Master Deed Restriction empowers APCHA to enforce the use of the occupancy of that land. It ties to your employee housing guidelines, which bar applicants with criminal conduct. And under CRS Title 29, APCHA has a statutory duty to provide safe housing. Refusing to act here is arbitrary and undermines the public interest and your public purpose. Essentially, without Title 29, APCHA has no right to exist, and under Title 29, housing authorities are required to ensure safety. Look at the big picture. APCHA can't create sustainable workforce housing that is unsafe, obviously, right? I want to hand something to everybody. If this could go around the room, that would be great. This is a painting done by Salvador Dali, where if you look at it up close, it just looks like a woman looking through a window. But if you look at it from 20 meters, as Dali suggests in the title, Abraham Lincoln from 20 meters, you can see a perfectly clear image of Abraham Lincoln. APCHA is so close to the words and the minutia that you have forgotten your purpose. Your purpose is to provide safe, affordable workforce housing. Title 29 has been used in multiple cases to evict persons from public housing. I expect that Title 29 should be used to remove this person based on their deed restriction. And just so you know, I support young women. After this meeting, I'm going to go and coach my 10-year-old's basketball team. I hope that you do the same.
Well, Grant, thanks for coming in. I mean, I know this is not, I know it's not something that's easy for you to write about. And I mean, I have 4 kids of my own. I promise nobody here takes this lightly. I mean, I read all the letters that you wrote. I mean, we take this, very seriously. We regularly get asked to step into neighbor disputes, to HOA disputes, to enforce HOA rules. APCHA doesn't have, we don't have the authority to do that. And so, from everything that you have shared, I mean, we have to balance being fair while also staying within the lines that the law draws for us.
Absolutely.
And
Title 29
and
is
so-
the law that gives you the authority.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
And so, the truth is we don't have authority over the criminal justice system.
This has nothing to do with
And
criminal
so,
justice.
okay.
Point of order.
Let Carson talk, please. Michelle.
So we have delegated the authority regarding this hearing to the hearing officer in our regulations. And this board doesn't reverse or change the hearing officer discussion. And there's a pending, schedule of a hearing. So, this board is not going to discuss any of the merits of this case. And once that hearing officer has made their determination, if you wish to appeal in district court, you certainly have the right to do that.
If you could tell me why the hearing has been delayed rather than expedited, I would love to hear that reasoning because it has not been
Well,
provided.
I mean, just candidly, I have 4 kids, and I tell them all the world doesn't revolve around you, and other people have things on their schedule, and you can't simply ask everyone to drop what they're doing just to accommodate you. Again, I understand that you are frustrated, but what you are trying to do is come in here and bully us into breaking the rules and the law, and that is simply not what we are going to do. I would also mention to you, Grant, just as, I would want somebody to tell me, a lot of your letter seemed to be written with AI, and, if you're familiar with it, those tools hallucinate a lot. And when your argument is hallucinated facts that don't exist, or is an argument that falls apart the second you open up the regulations, it can make a valid point a lot harder to hear. So I'm just simply,
Please, Grant, would you let him?
I'm just simply telling you that we take this very seriously, and we are absolutely not just simply brushing you off, and that we are going to be fair to everyone. We're going to follow the law. Tom has given you a very thorough and detailed explanation of why this is not something we can grant. I mean, you're asking us to do something we're not legally allowed to do. And you can and if you think that we are legally allowed to do that and we are wrong, you can take it to district court.
I will.
Okay. Again, nobody is taking this lightly. This is very serious, and certainly Tom has spent a lot of time on this. Again, I mean, this is. I certainly understand your frustration. Again, I'm a parent. I get it.
Let me clarify a couple of points. Grant mentioned that, or implied that the staff decision, which I authored in consultation with the staff, and I did that because it really turns on legal issues and not the factual questions in terms of Mr. Henley's past behavior and status. The decision to not proceed, it was not based on time and money. What I said in my letter was that pursuing a case that we're going to lose is a waste of time and money. And that was based on my opinion as to jurisdiction, not the merits of the case or anything like that. The courts have determined that Mr. Henley can be on the street, not us. Okay? The rights that are implicated here are those of his parents who own the property. The staff decision is now in the jurisdiction of the hearing officer. It's up to the hearing officer to decide how quickly to proceed with the hearing. Staff doesn't control that. Mr. Grant can make his requests, and he has, and that's fine. But the entire matter is now in the hands of the hearing officer, and he'll decide if the staff decision was correct or not. If Grant gets an adverse decision from the hearing officer, as you've mentioned, he can take that to district court. But in essence, it's a law enforcement matter, and APCHA doesn't have the ability to step in to something of that nature. We don't regulate the conduct, the behavior of the residents of the homeowners associations that are deed restricted. We don't tell people they, can't play their music too loud. We don't tell people they can't get into fist fights. Those are reasonable issues for a homeowner to raise, but that's not what APCHA does. That's managing the association, and that's not what we do.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? Kit, come on up.
Thank y'all for your time. My name is Kit McClendon. I'm also a resident of Woody Creek and have been asked by our community to make note of the situation that has been an issue and is ongoing with Mr. Henley. I do appreciate Tom's level-headedness and Carson taking the head on this and acknowledging that there is an issue that has been raised amongst our young girls in the neighborhood, our wives, as well as the older folks in our neighborhood who have some concern about comments made by this gentleman that he could break in anyone's house at any time through the years. We've only been in the neighborhood a year and a half, but since moving into the neighborhood, right off the bat, we were told there's been a couple instances that you need to watch out for, and this guy's moving back into his mother's house, who's technically not his mother. He was adopted, but I guess she has rights to this son who is now over 18. In talking with the police department and sheriffs in the time that I've lived in this area, they have recommended to us to put up video cameras, to lock our doors, that usually an offender of this sort does make a mistake again moving forward, and to please be aware that this is a dangerous gentleman, in which the last public hearing held next door in the courtroom, the judge, her specific words was, "This is a dangerous character to our community." And I don't have that in front of me, but it was such that she did not feel that this person she was comfortable letting him back out. He's now on his, what I understand, his third bond, and I'm not sure where that money's coming from. It's not my business personally, but I do think that after going to the sheriff's department, to the police department, they've been pushing us towards APCHA, and APCHA's been telling us to go to them. Right. So there's a little bit of indecisiveness as to how we best protect the people of our neighborhood, both wives and daughters, as well as older folks who live in the neighborhood who feel uncomfortable with this gentleman living next to the park in such a small community. So I appreciate y'all's time and consideration, and don't want to take up any more of it.
And Kit, as I said, this is extremely serious, and as you know, this is not something that we take lightly. And if there was an option for us to do something, certainly we would do it. I share your concerns. Allegedly hearing, the comments that Mr. Purcell shared about the judge and the probation officer, my first question is, how is this person free? Right? Because it seems very clear that if the person responsible for their freedom is saying they're a danger, that those two things don't square. So again, we take this very seriously, and we get requests to involve or to jump into neighborhood disputes all the time. We get, hey, the HOA is not enforcing their rules, and I think Woody Creek has some rules in their association. It's an independent association. APCHA does not have the authority to go out to that HOA and say, enforce your rules. We don't. And that's Colorado law. And so, again, we take it very seriously, and if there was something within the bounds of the law that APCHA had the authority to do, I assure you we would do it.
I trust you in that, and I appreciate your time today, Carson, and your level-headedness as far as being able to see the big picture of how this is affecting our local community, and because it is a repeat offense that continues to happen, you know, it's brought more emotions, and I feel that because of the fact that we are parents and have a responsibility to take care of people around us.
Right.
So
Can I
thank
ask
y'all.
a question? Do you know when the probation hearing is?
We've been up to date on some of that, but as of recently, I have not gotten emails back from the detective informing me after asking him.
We don't know
where
yet.
does this stand? Is he in jail right now? As some people have mentioned to me, he's driving his car around our neighborhood. So there's a little bit of uncertainty.
You don't know when the hearing is? Do you know when the hearing is, Grant?
I just spoke with the detective, and he said that, or he directed me to the information where it's scheduled for the 20th. However, he mentioned that he would not anticipate it being a fast process. Or his exact
It'll
words.
just get started then? Is that what he's saying?
That's what he's saying.
So the fact that we don't know if he's living 2 doors down from us or not, if he's in jail or not, it leaves some suspicion. And I don't want to get into the details of what it's like living 2 doors down from this situation, but it's been ongoing for the last year and a half that we've been there. And there's been some calls that I've had to make in the middle of the night to seek help and advice as to what we should do because of details that I'd be happy to share in another setting, and don't want to take up any more time over this. But as long as y'all are aware and we've got eyes on the situation, I feel that I can go back to our community and share that y'all are on top of it, and I know you'll continue doing your best to take appropriate action.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Anyone else with public comment? If you're on,
Am I able to comment publicly via Zoom?
you are.
Hi, my name is Samantha Purcell. I also live in the Woody Creek neighborhood. Grant is my husband. Kit's daughter Everett is one of my daughter's best friends. Our girls are 9 and 7 years old, and they play frequently at the playground that is right directly adjacent to Mr. Henley's house, where he is allowed to take out the trash at the dumpsters that touch the playground. A little over a year ago, when we became aware of Mr. Henley's presence in our neighborhood, we were really rattled and concerned. He admitted to forcibly choking and raping a 16-year-old girl and was, in my opinion, not given the proper punishment at the time, and now he's walking around in our neighborhood. To me, you know, living in an APCHA housing is a privilege, and there are a million reasons why someone can get kicked out for doing far less, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to tell you a story. When we found out about that, I felt the need to inform my daughters about Henry, because he literally lives basically at the playground. And so I had to have a conversation with my daughters about exactly what rape and child molestation are. Meaning I had to explain to those 2 little girls the physical acts involved in those types, in what Henry has done and has shown that he probably will continue to do. Later that day, my daughter brought me a piece of paper, and she had drawn a map of how she could get to her friend Everett's house without passing the rapist's house. She wrote it down. I just want you to all consider how you would feel if one of your children came to you with that. She has come to me really rattled, having seen him take out the trash and him making eye contact with our children as he does so. You know, I mean, I don't really think I can adequately describe the way that feels. But I do want to finish by saying, I'm looking at APCHA's website right now. In your mission statement, the very first thing on your list of values says, our work is guided and informed by our commitment to public trust. Do what is ethical and in the public's interest. It seems through the progress of these conversations that have been had via email that you guys are looking for reasons why it's not going to work and why you will not be legally entitled to remove him from this housing. And the fact is, you should be looking for reasons why and how you can. Right now, we're getting told it's not going to work because, and what we need to hear is we are going to find a way to make it work because, not I'm not going to try because I might lose. This is not in the public's interest and not ethical for him to be living next to a playground. And everybody knows it. And I think it's on you guys to be responsible and ethical and do what's in the public's best interest and do every single thing in your power to make this happen and get him out of here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. You know, just again, I can't imagine having those conversations. I mean, that's, I can't imagine having those conversations. And again, that said, I was put on the board to follow the law and to be fair, and that is what we're doing. So I don't have anything else to add. If anybody else has anything they want to jump in, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I can wait till director's comments if you want to see if there's additional public comment.
Let's do that. Is there any additional public comment?
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Guy Fulfer. I also live in the Woody Creek neighborhood. I've been sitting on this, and again, I think I understand the situation here. It does sound like our APCHA's hands are legally tied in this. I just want to go ahead and go on record as being another person who lives actually directly across the street from this individual, and have been here for 12 years. And so I've seen this grow up. I've seen this behavior escalate, and I really don't think that anything that's being described here is being blown out of proportion. This is a true danger. And I understand that at this point, I'm kind of reiterating what has already been said. I just want to go ahead and say that this isn't something that this is not a case of clutching at pearls. This is an extremely dangerous individual. It does not feel good to have him near this neighborhood. And I do hope that there is any avenue that APCHA may be able to, even if it is just a type of pressure, to be able to let them know that there has been this type of feedback, perhaps in their meetings. Anything that can be done can only help, because this is a very unfortunate situation. And that's really all I have to put in at this time. But it's definitely something that everyone in this community is aware of and is very uncomfortable with. And he is 100% walking free. I did see him today. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Guy. Any other public comment?
Yes, my name is Leah McClendon.
Hi, Leah.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
I would also just like to be on record. Pretty much the same comments all of our neighbors have shared. The constant lack of safety in our neighborhood. You know, when before moving into this neighborhood, we were told it was the best neighborhood. We're so grateful for the opportunity to live in APCHA housing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But then reiterating the fact that, you know, we do have a preteen daughter. You know, and so safety is our top priority. And when you have a violent sexual predator who has been out of jail, not just once, but multiple times, and then to have the judge put $75,000 cash bail so that the likelihood of him not getting out would be high due to the escalating behaviors he has shown, just does not make us feel very safe. When we do talk to the sheriff, or when the cops come by to check on him, you know, it's a situation where our kids are being exposed to this this behavior. And it's just not warranted in a neighborhood where we all work very, very hard to be here. And yeah, I just want to be on record as well, because we have to advocate for our families and for our community. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Leah. Any other public comment? Okay, I'm not seeing any more public comment.
Can I just approach, I'd just like to give you, these are the laws that apply to what we're talking about. If I can give them to Tom here. This is the deed restriction. This is the
I have the deed
APCHA.
restriction, of course. I have access to all the.
I have the highlighted
You know
relevant
what?
clauses
You
here.
definitely need to give them to the hearing officer.
You can-
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you could
I
give
think
them
the
to me.
board
you
should
can
be
leave them-
aware of it.
you
I'll
can
give
leave
it to
them
the
if-
board. These are the relevant clauses in the law. Please review them.
It's not a problem for you to put it in the record. That's
Sure.
fine.
Great,
That's
thank
fine.
you.
Kelly.
Well, Grant, before he goes, have you closed the public comment?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and, or well, no, you can
Okay.
you can go ahead and.
I know you need to go. I just want to, echo the gravity of the concern that you've raised and just, say the board has not talked about this. We don't have a board position on this. We're following the advice of our attorney now that it's in the scope of a legal matter. It's outside of a policy matter. I think we can have a separate policy concern, but we're not your adversaries here. I think collectively I can fully say that this is not a situation we want anyone in APCHA to endure or live in. I know some of you, I know some of your children who are friends with my children, and would not want to be living in this situation at all. I think this is a situation where due process is like a total bitch, and yet I want to preserve the integrity of it because that will cause enduring solutions. And I worry that if we're having back and forth, or if we're not engaging through our attorney, then it's not following the process correctly, and it causes problems later on down the line for trying to get something that can be supported through the court and be an enduring solution. And so if it seems like we're not being passionate or concerned about this, I just think it's being balanced by the fact that we also want to be thoughtful and smart about how this situation is handled. And so you're not going to get a reply from me over email because it's a legal matter now, and it's not because I don't care. It's just because that's what I'm trying to do, is respect the process and respect the legal efforts that are going to happen, and respect, I don't know if this will come to the board at all from an appeal of the hearing officer, or if it'll get leapfrogged directly to court. Either way is fine. This would be a matter I'd be happy to lose if it means the families get more protected. But again, we have to sort of let it play out now. And, I would say that if there are remedies for the board to consider relative to regulation changes, like that is within our scope of authority, I think that is a conversation that we can request staff and our attorney to present to us. We have some ineligibility criteria. I don't think we have any kind of criteria about, people who live with the occupants of record. That starts to get a little removed, but I'll just say that if there are solutions for us to consider, I hope that they get presented to us by the board or by the staff and our attorney, separate from the legal process that you've engaged in. So again, I have a lot of care for you all, and I want you to know that I hope that we resolve this in a safe way. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks, Kit. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you all so much.
All right, and thank you to the other to those online making public comment. Okay, we'll move to the Board of Directors comments. We'll start with Peter first.
I have no comments this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. John.
No comments tonight.
Kelly.
I will say, so, with John Ward's departure, we have a vacancy, and we have interviewed 4 candidates for the vacancy for a regular voting seat from the community member. And I'm told by our attorney that we can choose the alternate from that pool of candidates as well. So I think the BOCC will be deliberating our choice on the interviews, and then City Council, I don't know what your interview status is with all that right now, but
Beginning of January, I think.
beginning of January, okay. So just to give an
So I'm
update.
confused. So,
Sorry, so this is a joint appointment
Okay.
by the city and the county, and so
Okay.
each board interviews all the candidates. There were 4 candidates that applied.
uh-huh.
The application's now closed.
You
Peter
said-
has applied to be one of the regulars
Okay,
instead of
all right.
alternate.
That
And
clears
then
it
we
up.
can't just, the IGA doesn't allow us to just promote the alternate into the regular seat. But we can choose the regular and the alternate from this pool of candidates. And so generally what we do is our board makes our list, the city interviews and makes their list. We go back and forth if they're not the same, and then we formally appoint that seat. So just wanted to let you know about that.
Thank you, Peter.
And then,
Or,
sorry, just one more item, Peter. And then so I think the city, the county, and the Snowmass all got presented the regional housing needs assessment this week, which was reported in the paper. I thought it was a great presentation. I asked Liz and then Ashley Pearl, who's on my staff, if we could have APCHA hear the presentation. And so I just maybe might recommend that. I think you all would learn a lot and take a lot, even though it's sort of outside the context necessarily of what we do, our interest in the whole housing landscape. It would be informative. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Peter, did you have anything on the appointment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Kelly's comment that it's really encouraging to hear there's 4 or 5 applicants. I think when I applied, the alternate seat had been vacant for a year or year and a half, and there hadn't been any applicants, and to hear there's 4 or 5 now is super encouraging.
Agreed. Thank you. Scott?
No comments today.
Christine?
It's on if it's red. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
I want to thank. That was a really difficult situation. This is a really difficult situation. Thank you both for your comments and to the public for their comments. And my reaction to this, I know that we have had community concerns before about criminals or convicted criminals living in APCHA housing. And I think, as Kelly mentioned, to explore ways that, at least from my perspective, that is not the case. I don't think that meets the mission of the program. We're working so hard to create housing 1 unit at a time. And so when we are housing people who are a danger to our community, it doesn't sit with me well.
Right.
So I really would like to see at least some options of what we can do. And maybe the answer is there's just nothing there, but I think we need to relook at the guidelines.
I think
If the board wants to discuss this as a potential amendment or amendments to the regulations, that's perfectly legitimate discussion item. I mean, I wouldn't put anything out there until you've had a more broad-based discussion about that issue.
Right.
But based on that discussion, you can, if you decide you want something, then staff and I will see what we can put together that would meet your concerns.
This is something that has come up in the past, and it's been a while. I mean, I think it's been, I think it's been 6 or 7 years since it came up. And if I remember, we sort of went down the road, and I think that there were a number of legal concerns, but I do think that it's something we could certainly have a discussion about, because again, I think to your point about the mission, the mission of APCHA, again, I think we have to balance being a housing authority with also letting the criminal justice system do what it does. So we can certainly have that discussion in the future.
Thanks.
Okay, and then for me, I don't have anything to add tonight. So we will move to the consent calendar. One item, minutes of the October 29th, 2025 regular meeting.
You also have executive director comments before that.
Oh, I just skipped right over those, didn't I? Sorry, Matthew. APCHA board, Executive Director comments, and Cindy.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Matthew Gillen, Executive Director. I'll just a few things. So, continuing with our public outreach, the newsletter went out, I believe it was last week. I'm writing a year in review column for the paper, which I'll submit this week, and it's highlighting all the great work the board and staff have done in the past year. I met with Darla, who's the new Habitat Humanity boss, last week, and there's various areas of cooperation I think that would work well, and we had a great meeting there. Since this body last met, I was at the BOCC and City Council. We had a great conversation at the BOCC and at the City Council last week. Jackie and Emily from staff were there as well. And then, as Kelly said, the board interview is going ahead, and that's scheduled, I believe, for January 12th for the city. And I am on vacation starting a week today. So that's it. Thank you very much.
So we'll try and get out as quick as possible.
Yeah. A week from today, so so another week.
Cindy, signing up for notifications and available rentals and sale units.
Yes, please do sign up for notifications. We are adding we will have an open house next week for 2 units. And I just want to warn everybody that because of the holidays, that we won't have any open houses after next Wednesday until the first of the year because of holidays. And again, we do still have openings at Truscott and Aspen Country Inn. So please go on our website and sign up for any interest. I believe we're keeping those open so that if you haven't signed up for an interest before, you can still do that. Because we are still going through names and trying to still qualify people for those.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, now the consent calendar. One item, minutes of the October 29th, 2025 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second.
Motion from John, second from Kelly. Any discussion, changes within the minutes? Okay, hearing none, we will move to a roll call vote.
Okay. Peter?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Carson?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we have APCHA History, College of William and Mary, Zoe, Sophie, and Ben.
So I'll just, while they get set up, I'll just, this stemmed from a conversation we had at the BOCC. Greg Borschman said this would be a great thing to explore. I happen to have a connection at the Masters in Public Policy program at William & Mary, so I reached out to them, and Zoe, Sophie, and Ben very kindly agreed to take this project on. This is, they asked me if I wanted to see it before they did it, and I said no, so this is going to be, so, you know, so this is the world premiere, so we're very excited, so we'll turn it over to you guys, and I'll stop talking.
Hello, everyone. I just want to make sure, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine. Thank you.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ben Neverov. I'm here with my partners, Sophie, Wilson-Quayle, and Zoe Wang, and we are here to present the findings of our capstone research. So for some context, like Matthew mentioned, the three of us are second-year Master of Public Policy students at William & Mary, and this work was conducted as part of our policy research seminar that we conducted this semester, which essentially allows students to conduct policy work for professional clients. This seminar is incredibly important for us. Yeah, there it is. Sorry. This seminar is incredibly important to our program, and we really appreciate the opportunity that we've had to partner with APCHA and to have the opportunity to sort of conduct some real policy work and grow as policy professionals. So Zoe, we can move on to the next one. Perfect. So just to give a bit of a background on the project, again, as Matthew said, this project came about through the coordination of APCHA's executive director, Matthew, and our program's leadership. Matthew tasked us with producing a comprehensive document of the APCHA program's policy history, including any sort of major decisions, policy changes, etc., as the program has grown. The goal of this document essentially was to preserve the institutional knowledge of APCHA as the program has grown and turned into what it is today, so that it can be used as a resource as the program continues to grow.
We documented this policy history using multiple sources. We reviewed board meeting minutes from 2001 to 2025. We examined documentation using intergovernmental agreements, housing guidelines, and regulations from 1982 to 2025. We also conducted virtual interviews with current and former APCHA staff, former county commissioners, and Mayor Rachel Richards. And we also reviewed news articles published by the Aspen Daily News and the Aspen Times. And we use these sources to develop our timeline. So here is the condensed version of our timeline. These points on our timeline are categorized into one of three groups: program policy changes, highlighted in green; housing and community developments, highlighted in blue; and external legislative changes, highlighted in red. The full version of our timeline is in our report, and we will also include commentary based on information that we gathered in our interviews. I'm going to talk through some key moments in APCHA's history, which are outlined in the slide in black. So in 1974, Pitkin County Housing Authority was created. In 1977, Aspen City Council created their housing authority, and then APCHA was created through an intergovernmental agreement between Pitkin County and Aspen City, and the separate housing authorities were dissolved. Then in 1986, there was a major legislative change. The Tax Reform Act was passed then, and this gave a substantial cut to the top 1% of income families, and also eliminated deductions for commercial real estate ventures based on the amount borrowed if the borrower was not at risk for repayment. And this made resort residential real estate a more attractive investment opportunity. In 1999, the lottery system changed from one entry no matter what the length of your work history was, to giving more entries based on the length of consecutive work history. Under new guidelines, individuals gain one additional entry every 4 years, and this guideline remains in place today but has been debated throughout the years. In 2010, the Boomerang Lodge was approved by the board, and this is an affordable housing project with 54 units. One more point I'll highlight here is in 2025, two changes were made to incentivize capital improvements. One removed the $50 fee for review of capital improvements, and the other allowed another 10% increase of the purchase price for capital improvements to be added to the maximum sale price for every 5 years the unit is owned.
So as part of this report, we wanted to take the opportunity to sort of highlight what have been the primary policy considerations for APCHA as it's grown into the program it is today. These were mainly cited in terms of what sort of became a priority issue from our interviews, and then we also re-reviewed them when reviewing agency documentation. These were the policy areas that we found sort of most prominently displayed themselves and required the most sort of consideration from APCHA as it has grown. So these ones being the occupancy of retired residents in APCHA units, the rules of eligibility for the housing lottery, the income categorization of affordable housing units, and as Zoe just mentioned, the sort of funding and finances surrounding capital improvements and unit repairs. And then this next set is sort of just a set of additional policy considerations. These are things that operate sort of outside the direct influence of APCHA, but are some things that provide an additional context for the program and its operation. So regulation enforcement, this has sort of called for the need for reactive case-by-case policies. Again, not something that the board and APCHA has really been is really able to fully predetermine as issues arise. Other things like program funding, the expiring deed restrictions, and the just presence of short-term rental units and other secondary homes in Aspen. Again, these are policy areas that exist to add additional context to the need for APCHA's affordable housing program, but not necessarily things that the program can control itself.
Hi, as part of our report, we wanted to compare and contrast APCHA's policies at this point in time with other mountain communities that are major ski or outdoor recreation destinations and that are facing similar issues with housing affordability for local residents. So two of the programs that we included in our comparison are the housing authorities in Summit County, Colorado, and in Jackson and Teton County, Wyoming. Both of these communities are home to multiple ski resorts, and Teton County is home to Grand Teton National Park and part of Yellowstone National Park. Summit County and Teton County both have high rates of second home ownership and short-term vacation rentals, and the median home price in these communities is far above what the local workforce can afford, as a large proportion work in the service sector with relatively low-paying jobs. And as such, a significant portion of workers commute in every day, and many who live within the towns and counties are cost burdened or severely cost burdened. So both of these counties have established joint housing authorities to help address the shortage of housing. Here is just a snapshot of the comparison that we're including in the final report. We discussed differences in eligibility requirements, resale formula, primary funding sources, and other policies, including the key tools and programs that each housing authority uses, and rules for seniors, emergency workers, and other non-employee community members. Some similarities that we can briefly draw your attention to are that all three housing authorities use a lottery selection method for units, where individuals with longer workforce histories are given more entries. And all three programs also allow the value of capital improvements to be added to the total resale price, which is limited at 10% of the initial purchase price, though Summit County sets a 10% maximum for every cumulative 10 years of unit ownership, so slightly more generous. So that's all we have for you. So we want to thank you for your time, and we appreciate the opportunity to present on our report. And now we can open the floor to any questions and discussion.
Thank you, Sophie and Ben and Zoe. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I said Peter did, but you have one too.
I have a question. A comment from you is that Christine and Kelly weren't being heard very well. So if you could pull in your mic or speak up a little bit. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Just
Tom.
one general question.
Sure.
Did you find, maybe it wasn't part of your project, but did you know, are there other communities other than the three that are in your study, other communities in the country that have substantial workforce housing projects?
Yours was the largest, and Jackson and Denton County were among the second largest, especially for mountain communities in particular. So we didn't find any that were nearly as extensive as APCHA.
Okay. Peter, did you have a question?
Yes, I just want to thank you all for taking the time to put this together. It's super insightful and great to have your perspective. And Matthew, I think this is a wonderful idea, and I hope we do more of this because I think it adds a lot of perspective and value for us. I'm curious, in the other communities you sort of studied, as you sort of illustrated there, we're way ahead of other communities in terms of our inventory, and we're facing sort of maybe different issues in terms of aging inventory and aging residents with retirees. And I'm curious if you found those kind of dynamics to exist in those other communities, and are they addressing them different or similarly?
Yeah, several other communities also have aging populations, which they're attempting to address via fairly generous senior rules for occupancy. But sorry, what were the other parts of your question?
I was just curious if in looking at the different communities and their programs, if you found any really divergent or different policy strategies, I guess, for addressing those issues.
Not hugely different. There were a few programs that allowed seniors to apply directly for housing if they hadn't already been in deed restricted housing, and then programs set the retirement age differently. So some are 60, some are 62, etc. But again, no huge differences.
Thank you so much. And I hope in the future, you know, as you guys, if you continue to study this, you come back with any more observations or even recommendations to improve the policy of the program.
Thank you.
Christine?
Thank you.
Kelly?
Oh, were there any surprises or things that stick out or delightful information you learned?
I think something that I found really interesting was when we did interviews, especially with people who were there when APCHA was founded, they talked about deed restricted housing as a really progressive policy that they anticipated that there would be pushback for, but there wasn't any pushback. So it was really awesome to see that this progressive policy has been supported from the very beginning.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and to do this, and we really appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we will continue
Thanks,
on.
Matthew.
Thanks, yeah. We will continue on. We have Meg with a communications update.
Interesting that the boomerang was included in the timeline.
The boomerang one didn't go through, because the Jewish, my understanding is because they were right there and there was a lawsuit. So the owner didn't go forward with it and he actually sold the property. I walk by it every single day and it's just all boarded up. And it's a shame.
I think the city should condemn it for blight.
That's a Mark Hunt property.
That could be now.
Yeah.
You could still condemn it for blight. Isn't that the one benefit of
so. That
Citizens
was,
United or whatever?
That was a Phillips, I think that was a Phillips Pino idea.
Yeah.
But that was torn down when I lived there in 2009.
Well, on similar note, Park Circle, right?
It was already on. You should be able to hear me.
Is it red?
It is red.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you good though? I don't know.
Peter, can you hear Meg?
Can everybody hear me? And see my screen?
Yes, he can hear you.
Great. Okay. I've met most of you, or know most of you, but I'm Meg Simon. I haven't officially come up here yet since I started, so I'm the outreach coordinator for APCHA, so I'm in charge of outreach and communications for the most part, among some other small hats. But I've been in this position for about 1.5 years, and so we thought as staff it would be a good time to come up and just kind of give you an idea of what I've been up to, what we've been up to from a communication standpoint, and kind of our plans moving forward. So you should have the 2026 communications plan in your packet if you want to reference that at any time. There's a schedule in there. It's not totally set in stone, but the bones are pretty secure at this stage. So feel free to shoot out any questions as I go if you have any. Just to kind of give you a foundation of where I'm coming from as far as my goals and my strategy in this role for communication, I'm working on clarity, consistency, and proactive engagement. So this position that I'm in is a newly created position for APCHA that you all approved, but there obviously were some things going on before communication-wise, but this position was created to really enhance those things and really accomplish these things. So as far as clarity goes, I've been working on reducing any confusion and misinformation, which is a common thing that happens with APCHA. I want to support compliance and understanding of program requirements, help residents navigate policies and processes with more confidence. For consistency, back to kind of what we were talking about earlier in our meetings today, but building trust and transparency with our staff, our board, and with our community. We want to strengthen relationships with HOAs, residents, and our community partners, and ensure that APCHA delivers reliable, predictable information across channels, so no surprises. Proactive engagement. I've been working on boosting turnout for events and creating more events in that case, and increase the use of the APCHA resources that we have, and expand opportunities for residents to connect with us, whether that's staff, board, or these community partners, which I'll get into later, and help APCHA tell its story clearly before others tell it for us. So those are kind of the foundational goals that are on my docket. So getting started with looking at where we've been. So I like to call it strengthening the foundation, because a lot of things were already there, but I've been strengthening them. I've been enhancing them. So just wanted to give you a little idea of what I've been up to and what we've been up to in general. But so some ongoing initiatives that will continue into the next year, but that I've already been working on, are expanded newsletters. So these already were going on, but they weren't very consistent, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year. And I think you guys contracted them out. So I've really been working on organizing them, not making them too long, making them very clear, concise. And we've played around with the schedule a little bit, but we've decided to move to quarterly. That seems to be the best schedule. So spring, summer, fall, winter. And you hopefully saw the one that came out, I think it was 3 weeks ago that came out. And the education series, this is a big thing I've been working on. Before we had maybe one class a year, it was here and there, but middle of the year I decided to make them monthly. I just felt like they were so impactful and useful. People liked them, and HOAs seem to need guidance and just are soaking up that information. Not many of our HOAs hire their property managers, so they're just the residents that live there, and they're volunteers. So we love being able to help them and give them any education that we can. And by doing that, we've brought in different speakers. We've had quite a variety. We've had seminars on insurance, on fire mitigation, on budgeting, on we had CORE come and do one. So I've really been trying to kind of give some variety there, but I'm always open for suggestions if anybody has any ideas of ongoing subjects. Yeah.
Just jumping in, do you have like a schedule or a plan for the next number of years or months that you might be able to deliver to the board so that we could also help you with breeding excitement and getting more attendance?
With the education series?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit on the schedule in there, and it's hard to schedule people too far out. One speaker we have on a regular basis is Molly Foley-Healy, and I don't know if any of you have attended any of those classes, but she's excellent. She's a lawyer from Denver who specializes in HOAs, and she's just a wealth of information, and she's a good presenter. She doesn't make it sound too boring. So so she always has great ideas and has even suggested other speakers. But other than that, we don't have it planned too far out. We're thinking of doing a permitting one in January, which would be given by ComDev on how to, and then permitting with the county and the city on how to go about the permitting process for these capital improvements that we're trying to get everybody to sign up for. So, does that answer your question? And then the Housing Matters column, which I know many of you have volunteered to write for, so thank you. But that has been very successful. I've had great feedback from the community on that because it just covers such a variety of subject matter, and it's written by a different person every month, well, mostly every month. Matthew carries the load a lot. But that has just been really successful. It's monthly. It's the third Thursday of the month, unless the Daily decides to push it a day or two. So we're always open to ideas for that as well. Any good subject matter for that would be helpful to the community or informative. Stronger email, website, and social media consistency. Kind of the same with the newsletter. These things were very hit or miss, not much schedule, so I've really been trying to get that on a consistent schedule as far as communication, so people can rely on it for a source of what's going on, basically. So maybe you've been seeing some social media posts. If you don't follow us as board members, please follow us so you know what we're doing. And then social events. We've had some coffee mornings, and we've done the farmers market booth, and it's just we just want to get our faces out there to make ourselves a little more approachable, and I think that that's been successful since I've started. So those are ongoing issues. Any questions on those? Other questions? And then special projects that I've been working on with the staff. The 5-year strategic plan adoption, if you guys remember at the beginning of this year, was there was a lot going on with that. And it was it took about a 3-month process for us to get that solidified. And the cool thing about it was that we tried to engage the community as much as possible because we want to know what they think and we want to hear their ideas. As staff, we tend to hear the negative more than the positive. So by inviting comment and inviting participation, it was really interesting, and I feel like it was constructive for us to hear people's opinions. And within that, we had a 2-session forum. I know Scott was at least one of those. And where in that picture that you see there, that was from one of the forums. We invited the community, and John Doherty led a session on just ideas and prioritizing things that kind of came out of this survey that we also started in December that kind of went on for about a month. So we really did our best to read every comment and listen to every idea. And then you see these little post-its and stuff, people like added ideas and said this is a terrible idea or this is a great idea. And so it was very interactive, and I know for me as a communication person, it was really fun. It was a really neat thing to engage in. Retiree focus groups, we held 2 of these at the end of last year, and I think with a lot of the discussion on retiree kind of status in the community growing, we just kind of wanted to take the temperature and see, like, how are you guys, how healthy are you, how, not physically healthy, but with your housing, how do you feel in this community? And we learned a lot from that, and it was just great to connect with them and hear different stories, and also just to dig into that. I mean, some of these people have lived here for 50 years in the same house, and it's just really, obviously that wasn't all APCHA, but it was really neat to tap their brain and see, as community members for that long, what they thought of us, what suggestions they had, and how they see the future. And then we also used the findings from that and the comments from that to help us with our strategic plan. So you guys were all presented with that, I believe, in February. So, or no, it's probably March. So hopefully you remember some of those comments. They were really great to hear. And then kind of wrapping into to both of those things, just survey, the community-wide survey and engagement. We really took those results to heart, and also with those events and the coffee mornings, the focus groups, the farmers market, we are just trying to comprehensively get as many opinions as we can to make us more accessible.
Peter, do you have a question?
Oh, yes, Peter.
Yes, can you refresh me on when the community-wide survey, is this all the community? And when that survey was last done, and how we can get a copy of those results?
This was part of the strategic plan process, so it was November, December, January. So January of this year, that was online, and then we also had those 2 in-person sessions in December of last year. So this
February,
was all
the forums.
Oh, yeah, they were in February. Yeah. So it was all last winter we were doing the community survey.
Okay, great. And if I could just ask, do you feel as though that was the best source of getting sort of feedback from the APCHA community on the program and their sort of general satisfaction?
I do say it was the best, in as much it was certainly the most comprehensive, and to my knowledge, we hadn't done anything like that before. So yes, we hadn't done an online survey. We had those dedicated sessions for people to come to. So yes, I would say it was the best because it's the most comprehensive, to my knowledge, we've ever done for the program. Cindy's nodding.
Last question, can you remind me of the participation level?
Really strong the first night.
Yeah, the two in-person sessions were pretty well attended, and I would have to dig around to give you the number of people who answered the survey.
I believe it was like almost 400, I believe.
Yeah, and I believe both were open to the general
Yeah,
public.
yeah.
So
They were open to anybody.
One of the qualms that we had as a board at the time was that we weren't able to clearly parse out who was delivering an APCHA resident or APCHA owner resident message versus some public person who just came in to participate.
But they were also, hearing from Pitkin County residents and taxpayers who aren't actually APCHA residents is also very important and part of the process.
Is it possible to, I guess for the future, to be able to send surveys directly to residents and track, the who are residents and how many people participated, and is the APCHA population, it's a couple thousand, right? We got 400 people.
It was sent to my APCHA email list, which is 8,000 contacts. So, and then it was also published in the paper, and it was also on our website, and there was also a Housing Matters column about it. So, and we did social media blasts about it as well. So, we really tried to get it out there as much as we could. But as far as direct email, it went to 8,000, roughly 8,000 people. That's kind of what I remember, yes. Which sounds dire, but
Oh, that's still statistically significant.
Yeah. And those 8,000 contacts are APCHA owners or renters or residents. They're under the APCHA umbrella, I should say. Does that answer your question, Peter?
Yes, thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions on that? Okay, website redesign. This has been an ongoing thing for me since the beginning of the year, and we are really cranking, and you guys are going to be able to see something soon. I'm excited for you to see it. As you know, our website is pretty bad, so there's a lot of work to be done. I've been having a lot of sessions with a consultant, just going in page by page by page and document by document, really trying to streamline information and make it more accessible and more even visually accessible, so people can more easily get to the information that we have. It's all there, it's just hard to find. So I'm hoping to remedy that, and also hoping to remedy some of the long phone calls that our staff gets when it's all right there. It's a resource for them, hopefully. So I anticipate that coming out at the beginning of the year. February would be my guess for lunch, so keep an eye out for that.
Just real quick, so within that, we're going to have a section that's directed towards HOAs to hopefully answer some of those questions. That's awesome.
Yes and no. I think originally I wanted to do a forum kind of page where HOAs could communicate with each other, but apparently according to the Civic Plus people, that's kind of an outdated thing, and they don't really have a system for that. So, but we are going to have just an HOA hub,
That's
all
more
the
what I mean.
resources
It's
that
just
we
like,
have.
here's some resources, here's some things to consider, budgets, and whatever.
Yes.
Great.
And then, under that will be links to all the classes we've had, the educational classes, so
Great.
you can watch those online if you'd like to, or whatever you need.
Yeah, and I mean, I would just say too, I think that the HOA outreach, I think, like Matthew and I have talked about, if we did one or two of those a year where we could do them after work where people could join, I would be happy to join some of those. Because I know that a lot of it is people just working and they just, they don't have time to whatever. And so, yeah, I'll throw that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, we've played around with the timing of some of those things, and we'll continue to. The mornings seem to be pretty successful. The lunch is mostly older people because they're not at work, or the retirees more so. So we do want to do our next class, at least we're going to try one in the evening, and it may be remote. We're playing around with times and locations for sure. So the ACI Truscott campaign, I know Cindy mentioned earlier, we still have available units, but we have filled several. So we did a huge just advertising campaign for that in September, October, November, and we still have a radio ad going on Radio Tricolor, so in Spanish. So we've, I've placed ads even as far as Rifle and done the poster placement, and we've just kind of done lots of different avenues for advertising, and I think it's worked. People started signing up like crazy, and it just takes so long to get them approved, which is why it's hard to really get your hands on the results, but it's worked. We've filled a lot of units since September.
Bravo.
It's hard. But I think that also shows this was a great example of some of this muscle we built up that we were able to run out a distinct campaign. So yeah, it's a good example of that.
And then the last one is the Central Repairs Grant Program. So when I started in this position, it was a pilot program, and it's no longer a pilot, now it's official. So we are moving forward with that, and it's going really well, and people are really happy for the most part. I mean, it's enabled people to do some key repairs. So we're going to continue to do that and advertise for that, and you'll see in the communication timeline that we are going to launch it's a relaunch of the program in February or March for that, when we kind of get the next pile of money. So any questions about special projects? Okay. So where are we heading? So really more of the same and then some more. So really, I just want to continue to strengthen the communication infrastructure. So there are a lot of pieces and parts, but I'm just working on making them more cohesive. So I want to improve internal communication. That includes you guys, that includes the city staff, that includes the county staff. So with updates, with changes, with policy, whatever. So we're continuing to work on that. Increased public understanding of programs, policies, and resources. There have been some growing pains with me along the way. I know with the policy changes, for example, we did in April or May, and before they were approved, it got out and there was a newspaper article, so it was like confusing the timeline of telling the community about it. So I'm working on making that a little more streamlined, so again, there are no surprises in our community with any changes coming down the line. And then supporting APCHA's mission with clear, consistent, and proactive messaging across all channels. So consistency. And another thing I'm working on is a branding package that's pretty robust, so everything looks the same. Everything, we have the same mission, we have the same wording, the same colors, whatever. So that'll be coming out as well. Key partnerships. I've had, within the city of Aspen, I've worked with the communications department quite a bit with Carolyn Zachariason. We've worked on doing the Housing Matters columns and newsletters, and we've just kind of collaborated on some of that stuff. So I'm definitely more in tune with what's happening at APCHA, but she's more in tune with the journalistic side of it. So it's fun to collaborate with her on that. And deepening our collaboration with local nonprofits, partner agencies, and media outlets. We've been working a lot with CORE, which has been really fun. They have so many great resources for our community. So, and a lot of times, for example, for the grant program, there are grants that CORE has that can piggyback onto our program. So we just really want to let residents know that that's an option, that's out there for them. And, we've just started talking with Habitat. I know Matthew met with them recently. They have some available units in Glenwood. So who knows, that could be a great fit for somebody. But advertising, things like that. And then in expanding engagement with homeowners, renters, HOAs, property managers, and the regional workforce. So that's kind of more of the same, but better. And target audiences, APCHA staff, board members, City of Aspen staff, I mentioned that before, and external homeowners, renters, prospective buyers, local workforce, and the Spanish-speaking community, which is something I'm continuing to improve on, the Spanish-speaking community, and making sure I have things available in both languages. Okay, and then expanding outreach and engagement. So here's some things we're thinking of. We want to do some more focused social media campaigns. So I'm just thinking with the presentation from William and Mary, there's stuff in there I can make a campaign about on social media, like educating people, like check out how cool APCHA is, blah, 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 blah. So things like that. And also another campaign could be Mythbusters, which we've touched on, but just making, APCHA stuff more accessible so people don't feel like it's so nasty and hard to approach. So some channels that I'm also going to be working on are maintaining the new website once it launches, which will be, there will be a growing process for sure. It won't be perfect the first time out. So kind of troubleshooting anything that comes up with that. Another thing I didn't mention yet is that we've started doing a biannual HOA newsletter, and the next one will be out in January. And that has been, we did our first launch in July, and it will just be specific HOA stuff to help them navigate, kind of more of the stuff that we talked about would be on the hub on the website, so more specific stuff to that. And then just more of the same that I mentioned before. Education and program initiatives. The monthly education series will continue. We may revisit whether it needs to be monthly or not. It depends. We're just going to kind of monitor attendance and feedback. We are going to start, or I'm going to start working on a homeowner 101 program. So this will kind of be a package. It will be some collateral. It'll be maybe a video. It's kind of like I just won an APCHA unit, now what do I do? It'll have seller standards. It'll have capital improvement stuff, what your deed restriction means, things like that. And so we're really hoping that will just help take some of the cloudiness away from people understanding what deed restricted housing is.
And that's a specific pull-out from the strategic plan.
Just jumping in with the Homeowner 101 program, you mentioned that it was for people who had already won lotteries. Do we have any plans for the people who are considering getting into APCHA? Because from my experience speaking with community members, there's like really high hopes and excitement, and then there's kind of this dash that happens.
I think we'll probably do it before you bid.
Okay.
Right, so just capture everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's probably how we'll do it.
And maybe it's stages.
Yeah.
Like, you submit your qualification packet, here's what to expect.
Yes.
And then you win, here's what to expect.
Yeah, most negative feedback that I get is just a matter of managing expectations. And so that kind of thing would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And because we also want to put in forward thinking in that as well. So what your home needs to look like when you decide to sell, whether it's in 2 years or 20 years, So that'll be part of that as well. More promotion of open units and rental inventory. So I'm just going to take a litmus test every couple months. Like, how are we doing? Do I need to do another campaign on filling these units so we don't get into a situation where all of a sudden we have 15 empty units? So that's something, we just need to stick to a schedule on. And then more campaigns, like I mentioned before, that with some of our partnerships and the grant program. And then legal guidance for homeowners. This is something we're hoping to roll out in the spring. And this will be in partnership with Molly Foley-Healy, who I mentioned earlier, who does some of the classes with us. And we're trying to figure out still how it's going to look, but we're hoping to schedule like 20-minute sessions where your HOA can come in and sit down with her one-on-one. Just ask her some questions, like, if you don't understand how certain things work or whatever. And then kind of similar to that, she has offered to rewrite not rewrite, but redo HOA documents that are outdated. So she can look at your HOA documents and for a very small fee or for free or.
It's the basic 9 required policies under Kiowa that everybody has to have. And the collection policy is one that needs to be updated. And she has quoted a less expensive rate, whether the board decides that they want to cover that or the HOA can. And we had, where I live, we had ours done. And it was not expensive at all to get that done. And in some places, because years ago we had it to where she came out and she actually gave for 5 weeks sessions in the morning and in the late afternoon that HOAs could go to, and they had to pay 30% of the price, and we paid 70% of the price, and everybody got their 9 governance policies on that who wanted to do this. So it wasn't all HOAs that wanted to do it, but the ones that did, she still has those because she had ours where I lived, and she was able to look at it and just update it under the new rules. So that's something that we're trying to get done as well, because that's one thing, especially the collection policy. If somebody wants to put some type of if one of their owners is not paying their HOA dues, if they don't have that up-to-date collection policy, there's certain things that they can and cannot do. So we want to make sure that all the HOAs know that this is what they can do, but this is the process they have to go through it. So we're working on that.
And then Peter has a question.
Shoot, I forgot my first question, but with regard to, 2 things. I guess with the website, and you'd mentioned kind of staying up to speed on the available units. At one time, I thought we talked about there being sort of a dashboard on the APCHA website.
That's.
And then that second question was just about helping. I know when maybe we changed some policies for people that are independent contractors, there was a lot of stress we heard about with filing, their work history. And is that an area we've been able to kind of support people?
Peter, I'll answer that. Yes, Emily's working on a dashboard which will be as part of the website. We have done some outreach on self-employed people, making sure they have, it's easy for them. And we haven't had many complaints recently that it's very difficult. So something we can keep an eye on, and we can, do more reach out if we hear complaints. So if you're hearing anything, please let us know. But we think that the regs are pretty clear on that, and the qualification has been going pretty smoothly. But if you're hearing different, let us know, and we can do some more outreach.
I just remember when it came up, there were a lot of people it was something they weren't literate, they weren't familiar with how to track all that stuff, and so maybe they figured it out, and that's good that they're familiarized with it now, which is great.
Okay. Okay, so the last one is ongoing evaluation. So just trying to figure out if what we're doing is working. And one thing I try and pay attention to, or I actually always pay attention to, is are people opening the newsletter? Is there engagement? Are we getting more likes on social media? How many HOAs are participating in our initiatives? Things like that. And it'll be interesting once the new website is launched to do some analytics with that as well. I'm anticipating improvement there for sure.
Do we know how many people on average open an APCHA email?
It depends. The newsletter, it's about 65 to 70%.
That's really good.
It is really good, yeah. And it's quick. It's within the first day, so it's encouraging. And email blasts are
April Fool's one.
Rickroll it.
Sorry, you're all kicked out. No, I'm just kidding.
The special email blasts are a little less, but not much. They're still pretty good. So.
Sorry, I have a wacky sense of humor.
Yeah, and I would love to do another survey, maybe at the end of next year. I would love to do that process again and do it better if we can. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any more comments or questions?
Kelly.
Thank you very much. I was just going to say, in terms of your broader coordination, the county's communications director is a former APCHA board member, so you might have some success if you're looking to strengthen that relationship.
Yeah, with Allison, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'm curious, do you have support for Spanish language access?
It depends. For the newsletter, we hire a translator for that. There are some people on the city staff who can do quick jobs, like if it's a quick email blast. And that's the same with ads. If I do 2 ads, one in English and Spanish, the city will usually help me with that. And then the radio ads, the stations themselves do those for us. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about the new website? Is there any
that'll be
component?
fully translatable.
Oh, it will?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
That's because there's a new best practice where you can just pull down the drop down, and leveraging AI, you can just choose the language you want it in.
Okay, and we'll test that to make sure nothing weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure it's not inventing regulations.
Yeah.
And with that, any specific documents that we have, like for example, our rental packet is a PDF that you click on. So for that, we will have a separate PDF that is translated. So it's not, so you could translate it through Google Translate, but we'll have a actual
that's
translated
better.
document that you can print out.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Just a really warm thank you for doing all this work. It's really important and really valuable, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Great job.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, and thanks to city and county for funding.
The website, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, thank
and the
you.
website, yeah.
Okay. We'll move to the approval of 2026 budgets for 620, 632, 622, 491, 641, 492, and 642 funds.
So we discussed this in, I believe, August at the board. I went to the city and the county to discuss it. So the highlights are no supplemental positions. This time round, we were approved by the city and county supplemental for the essential home repairs program. So that is now going fully into the budget. So it won't be a supplemental. It's just part of the normal operating budget for both bodies. And so the APCHA subsidy by both bodies is $1,293,250. So that's the 50-50 split. And then Truscott and ACI are funded solely by the city. They're city-owned, so that is not part of that. So it's the APCHA fund, and then Smuggler Housing Fund is owned by APCHA, which is our money, as is the development fund. So happy to answer any questions, but I think we've been through. Yes.
On the smuggler fund, are we saving up for something? Because the fund balance.
We're looking for opportunities to spend that money, but Smuggler is built out of cinder blocks. It's a very solid building, so it's surprisingly difficult to improve it, but it is something that's on our radar to try and to spend that money, improve it. And so, we used part of that money this year for the parking lot. That was part of the asphalt fund, but yeah.
Okay.
It's everything out of cinder blocks.
It's a very solid building.
Okay, and there's no opportunity to transfer funds from that to something
I don't think
else?
so.
Yeah, I don't think we have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys wanted to give it to the city, I'm sure the city would take it. But because you control those funds, so if it was something that you wanted to do, you probably, we would have to check with finance to make sure they probably would be happy to take it, but because those are the funds because the housing authority owns Smuggler Mountain Apartments, you might have the ability to do that.
Well, I might just suggest that if staff thinks that, like, if we're carrying 500,000 fund balance for 10 years, you know,
Right.
maybe
Right.
if there is something could be more
That's a really
useful,
good.
like, I don't know what the look back totally is on that, but, you know, I'd be willing to entertain a reinvestment in some other housing project.
That's a
if-
good
if
observation, Kelly.
necessary.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all I have right now.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion or a motion to approve?
I'll move to adopt Resolution 7, Series of 2025, approving the 2026 budgets for the APCHA Administration Fund, Smuggler Mountain Apartment Housing Fund, APCHA Development Fund, ACI Affordable 1, LLLP Affordable Housing Fund, the Truscott Place Phase 2, LLLP Affordable Housing Fund.
I'll second. Any discussion? So roll call vote.
Peter?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Carson?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Okay. Last item on the agenda is the executive session. Does anybody want to read? I don't have.
I will make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussion pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B for a conference with APCHA's attorney for receiving legal advice regarding APCHA versus Collins, case number 2025 CV 30132-5.
Okay, you got a motion from Kelly.
I'll second.
Second from Scott. Anyone that we need to bring into this discussion, or Tom, do you have any comments to add?
Free to stay, otherwise, no one else should be present.
And does this have to be recorded?
Because Bethany might
And
understand.
it does not need to be recorded because as provided in the Colorado Open Meetings Law,
Recording stopped.
consultations with your attorney are not required to be recorded.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so it is we have a roll call vote to go into executive session.
Yeah, leave
Okay.
leave Bethany in there.
Peter?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Carson?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be going into executive session. We'll take a short 5-minute break to clear the room.
I mean, if they're that excited, leave them in. Okay.